Yeah, 727. Yeah. All right. Is Mr. Mavis here? Yes. Okay, that's all. Yes, sir. Well, it's oh, you did. 7. Karen, whenever you are ready. I'll be with you now. Cool. All right. Okay, well, let's bring the Thursday, August 3rd, 2023 Webster Town Board meeting to order. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Dolly, can you do roll call, please?
Supervisor Flaherty.
Here.
Councilwoman Cody. Present. Councilman Cahill. Councilwoman Lynn. And Town Attorney Johnson.
Present. Well, we got a couple of treats tonight, but we're leading off with, I think, the big one is that we have a lot of guests in the room tonight supporting. Well, Ron, are they supporting you?
I need all the support I can
You
get.
do need all this support. But Ron, would you like to come up to the podium and you can bring as much of that entourage.
Everybody come on up.
Come on.
Maybe Mom can take a picture. Come on up, Billy, come on up. Harper, Annabelle, Christian, Everett, Michael. This is just a cross-section of 102, or almost 200 players that play every week at Miracle Field. On Saturday mornings, we have Tuesday night league. And I just thought we're raising money. We constantly raise money for such things as Heroes Day. All the things we do cost money. And that leads me into Miracle Field Week, which starts on September 15th. It's more than a week, I know. It's September 15th to the September 24th. Tom, I know you already got me on that one. All the good things that we do need support, not only for the community, but financially. and raising money. Yes, we do get grants, but we make improvements. Things like replacement of the field, we have to set a lot of money aside every year, and we don't like to hit up the foundations for things like that. We want to show that we have the resources to raise money on our own, which leads me into Miracle Field Week. Last year we had the Oktoberfest. It was very successful. It's a lot of work. Yes, Tom knows.
Yeah. You're paying that.
And this year, the tent itself is 240 feet long, so it's a big community event.
Whoa.
These are things that are good for Miracle Field, but they're community events. You know, these people come to the Oktoberfest or the events we do. They go out to restaurants, they go to stores afterwards, so that kind of residual income comes back to the community. So that is the 15th and 16th is the Oktoberfest. We encourage everybody to come out and support us and the community from noon to 10:30 at night. We have the Master Yodeler from Germany, we have bands from Philadelphia area, New Jersey, and a whole bunch of entertainment. It's just a good time. Thursday, September, this is my granddaughter, can you tell? Who, by the way, is good friends with Annabelle, and her being around all these kids is very beneficial. And you know, I can't say enough about the buddies that help us too. I'm going on tangents, but there's a lot of things that are side effects of just this organization. Anyways, Thursday the 21st, we have the Zach Brown Tribute Band concert this is all at the Fireman's Field, under the big tent. And then on the 24th, we have a cornhole tournament. I didn't realize how big cornhole was, but we've got this tent up, so we decided to do a couple more events, and this is another one, bringing people from all over the area to come and just support us. And I thought it was just nice that we would be able to bring some of so that people can see the people that benefit from this. I mean, Christian's this is his second year. We've got Christian, who's one of the youngest, and we got Billy, Billy turned big 5-0 a year ago, so but he loves it. We do more than baseball. Yes, all summer. Baseball is a big sport. Right after this, in a couple weeks, we start playing football, kickball. After that, it's basketball off-site. We do a Halloween party off-site. We do Valentine's Night to Shine Prom over at Webster Golf Club. We're at 240 people last year. We're going to do 2 nights. These are all events that we pass on to the families at a very minimal cost because of the fundraising we do. So that's just so many other things that we do that people don't realize. We do soccer, we do bowling. We had 125 bowlers last, or 75 the year before, 125 this past year. If we build it, they will come was the motto, and they still come. And we have kids and adults from Monroe County, Livingston County, Wayne County. They'll come. They just like to. This is it for them. So it's just. I'm just appreciative that you guys kind of recognize our fundraising efforts and get up some publicity for us. So.
Yeah. Parking cars?
This young man and Supervisor Flaherty parked cars.
Come on, Mike.
I didn't think you could do it.
Actually, honestly, he was my boss that
Yeah,
night, right?
good.
He was tough.
And I don't be up there again this year, but this year I'm gonna have this year meetings.
His girlfriend.
Oh, okay. Well,
Maybe you've been replaced.
I think, yes.
Poor performance.
Well, Brad, can I ask you this? I mean, there's several people here tonight, but believe it or not, these board meetings, we get views on them on our website and social media for weeks, even months after. So how would people fundraise or give money if they'd like to, besides go into the
Well, they
events?
can go to our website, rochestermiraclefield.org, and there's a drop-down menu, and it's real easy to find to donate. And then actually at the field, we've got I have another sign I have to put up, but we have a QR code now that they can go right to. It takes you right to donations or to learn more about Miracle Field. But it's our website, rochestermiraclefield.org.
That's awesome.
So
That's awesome.
thank you, and I know you guys got a lot of pressing issues.
Hey,
I just appreciate the time to let us, be in the moment here, so, but thank you very much, and whoever wants to go out for ice cream, I'm buying.
Oh, let's go.
Oh, wait a minute.
You got your meetings. So thank you.
Thanks,
For your
guys.
time, and I appreciate it.
That's great.
And
All
thanks
right.
for all coming tonight. Great
Thank
to see
you.
You will?
While we're transitioning before anything, I just want to say this. My time on the board was just 13 years now, I think. Sometimes this can be a little bit, we're surplusing a whole lot of equipment when we're making decisions on things. But one of the nicest things that I've done in my time on the board, because we did partner with the commercial field people in the property next door to town hall, delivering that. One of the things that I found to be most rewarding was the ribbon cutting in there.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something, anybody that, Ron Camp was just up there, we don't have enough time to talk about that guy. They don't make him like that. He's something, he's a real dude. All right, well, next, that's a tough part to follow, I gotta tell you, but the next part of the meeting is the open to the floor, where each speaker is allowed up to 5 minutes to talk about anything they'd like. Hey, Dan, you might be the only one tonight.
I think so.
Well, that's great, because, I shouldn't say that's great, but you know what? I've been asking you, geez, I hope you get up and talk.
Yeah,
Come
I
to
did a
lot of
little bit of
meetings, so-
research, and, well, let me get up there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dan Trueheart. I live at 702 Colorado Court, and I've been looking into the push by New York State to prohibit fossil fuel equipment and systems in residences. So beginning on January 1st, 2030, New York State will prohibit the installation of fossil fuel, space, and water heating equipment when retrofitting existing residential and multifamily buildings. By 2035, the state will require all new passenger vehicles to be zero emission. Now, I looked into it. I have a high-efficiency natural gas fireplace or furnace that is 10 years old, and I looked it up. Its life expectancy is 15 to 20 years. I also have a natural gas hot water heater that's 7 years old, and its life expectancy is 10 to 15. I used the National Electrical Code to determine the recommended electrical service that would include the following devices: heat pump, hot water heater, clothes dryer stove, 240-volt fast charging station for an EV, along with the typical circuits for living spaces, kitchen, bathroom, bedrooms, etc. According to the National Electrical Code, I would need a service of 200 amps. I checked my circuit breaker box, and my service is rated at 100 amps. I looked into it further. It is not possible to upgrade from 100 amps to 200 amps simply by replacing your main circuit breaker. To upgrade to 200 amps, I will need a new service panel along with additional circuits for these new devices. The connection to the power grid is through what's called a service drop. The service drop consists of 3 wires, one neutral and 2 120-volt hot lines. RG&E would need to examine your service drop to determine if it meets the requirements for a 200 amp connection. My service drop is underground, so it doesn't meet the 200 amp parameters. It would have to be dug up and replaced. Since I have no plans to purchase an EV in the near future, I believe my 100 amp service may be sufficient for these new electrical devices. Any questions?
No, thank you for bringing that up, Dan. It's another case of the cart before the horse, in my opinion.
Yeah, I have to look into it further. There's part of the New York State budget that I think it's called Cap and Invest,
Yes.
and I think it's supposed to address how it's going to be financed. And this is going to be extremely expensive.
Extreme.
But we're looking at from the service drop that goes to a transformer that'll drop down your voltage from the substation to something more applicable or usable for your home.
Right.
But then the transformers would have to be evaluated to see if they can meet the more draw power for your section. then you have to look in the wires. And the wires, they're metal. So when we have more power drawn, the wires, the resistance, will heat up. Now, if the wires start to heat up, they'll start to drop down.
Yeah.
Now, if there's a tree, shrub, or some obstruction, once they touch, they short out and your part of the grid is down. So there's a lot, there's probably, we're talking, I would have to guess $100 billion just for New York State. That was a guess.
We just don't have existing infrastructure for this at all. And
Yeah.
people are projecting that by 2030, we still won't have the infrastructure to support all these electric vehicles, electric furnaces.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm buying one.
Well, yeah, I don't blame you, last time I checked.
And I looked into these solar panels and it's all nice and everything, but I don't think it's really going to supply enough electricity to offset what they were calling for, which is all the renewable energy. I may be wrong, but as when we have greater heat, that causes more evaporation in cloud cover, so that can decrease the efficiency of the solar panels. And you throw in some of the smoke from the wildfires, the particles, that decreases the efficiency.
Right.
And the windmills have to be up, I think, over up to 300 feet high in order to get the proper wind.
And when you get a chance to look into the costs of fossil fuels to build and manufacture the chemicals, it's pretty interesting. I've been doing some research and also on these solar panels, when their life expectancy is over, or even just over.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah.
So anyways, that's it. And Tom, he has a kick on Latin. So there's a phrase,
That's Charlie.
oh, Charlie? It's sine die. And it's, I think it's not classical Latin, but ecclesiastical. It means without day. And I think in the legal term, I think it means indefinite. But if you want to
It
join a
can mean-
meeting.
It can mean indefinite, it usually means, we haven't assigned a date to it yet.
Yeah, so it's indefinite. You don't have a,
Effectively.
like if you're going to join a meeting.
Adjourn without, right, adjourn without a particular day, termination, or actuation.
That's it, everybody.
Thank you.
And I'll add, you
I'm
take
not
over,
going
you
to
got
comment one way or the other, I'm just going to say, I wish that the people who were passing these regulations and looking at these ideas did as much research as you did. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, what I did was, I tried to do a comparison. I'll look online. You can't trust everything online. So I'll look at two. Yeah. I'll take two independent sources. If they don't match, then I throw them both out. So you have to really do your research, and you can't trust everything.
Yeah.
Nicely done, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Dan, come back and talk more.
Well, I won't be here for a while because I got a busy August and September. So I probably won't see you till October. But anyways, if I don't see you, have a great rest of the summer.
Hey, you too.
Thank you.
You know, it's funny, was Dan at a certain establishment last Saturday listening in on my brother and my conversation? 'Cause
No, I wasn't.
I'm sure you were. My brother, his name is Jeff Flaherty, and he owns a company called Wise Home Energy.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that the last time I was here.
Well, he and I got together and whatever, it just ended up, we talked for about 15, 20 minutes about what he does in his work with New York State and with NYSERDA and all that. And I would love to have him come in and do a presentation to this board, but it's going to have to happen after I'm not the supervisor, because that couldn't look more nepotism-like than you get, I guess. But this is what he does for a living, and he's a speaker at different national events. He's very, and I'm biased, he's my brother, but he has accreditations and he speaks, and he's very well respected in the industry. And he says, in more words or less, that we're going down a path that really was not researched correctly as far as this energy goes. And his problem is that his industry, I mean, he's selling people what they want, even though he's trying to consult them that might not be the best thing for you in the long run. But it's it's taken on a life of its own. Solar panels and windmills and all that stuff. I don't know. I don't know if it's been researched enough, but that's all I got to say. All right, next up, Dolly, as usual, you are right up to date on the board minutes, and there's 2 of them here. Well, first I'll make a motion to approve the July 20th regular town board meeting minutes.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn? Aye. Councilwoman Bicaldi? Aye.
And then I got to say that when you submitted the July 27th out, which was a combination, I think, the workshop and the public hearing, and ultimately the vote on the sewer bonding, Charlie, in English, not Latin, came back and said it was almost verbatim. Her minutes were so accurate. I mean, it really is. So I'm going to make a motion that we approve the July 27th in totality minutes of the workshop, public hearing, and the vote.
Second. Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Bicaldi? Aye. Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn? Aye.
John, I think you pinch hit this week, didn't you?
No, it's good.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
No, I didn't believe the bills and found them in order, but I would move that we approve the bills as submitted by the director.
Second. Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Bicaldi? Aye. Councilwoman Wynn? Aye. Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye. And I also went over the prepaid warrants as submitted by Paul Adams, Director of Finance, and make a motion to approve those.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn? Aye. Councilwoman Bicaldi? Aye.
And I reviewed the purchase orders as submitted by Paul Adams, Director of Finance, make a motion that we approve those.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill? Councilwoman Wynn? Aye. Aye.
Paul, I'll let you explain the next 2 since it is the season of 2024 budget. These are 2023 budget items, correct?
That's correct. We have some budget transfers and also some budget amendments. The transfers essentially cover the employee compensation changes. We settled the white collar union contract, and there was also some health insurance changes which put everyone on high deductible insurance, so that meant the amount for health savings account contributions went up, so I had to cover that. The amendments, there are 4 main pieces to that. There's actually a $120,000 transfer from general fund to the Finn and Gravel Road retention pond project. I know that we're still hoping to get more grant money for that, so we're working on it. There's a $55,000 transfer to handle the courthouse repairs, which is the building we're in. It was previously authorized for $180, and we had transferred $125, so this brings it up to $180. There's a $238,000 transfer from general fund to the highway building capital project. The bond resolution was passed on February 23rd of 2023, and we had incurred expenses prior to that, so those expenses can't be part of the bond, so they have to be covered from general fund or through some other means. So this authorizes that transfer. And then lastly, we're expanding the Parkland Trust Fund budget by about $290,000 so that we can go ahead and purchase the 28 acres on Herman Road. We are receiving a grant of just over $270,000 to do that. And there was a gift from Mary Bove for around $30,000. So actually the whole cost is covered. So this just expands the budget to account for the revenue and expense. That's a long explanation.
Yep, it was great, to tell you the truth, because usually you don't get that granular on the budget transfers and amendments, but there's some big items in here, and I'm glad that you got into detail on them, and I'll just say that did any of the board members have any budget season is 24/7. It's all year round,
It sure is.
because you're moving on that budget and actually, whatever. Well, I would make a motion that we approve the budget transfers as presented by Paul Adams, the Director of Finance.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gertaldi?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
And then I would make a motion to approve the budget amendments as presented by Paul Adams, the Director of Finance.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gertaldi?
Aye.
Is this more Paul to explain or more Pat? Or is this?
No, this one's me.
Okay.
It's actually the 238,000 I just referred to in the budget amendment. Essentially, it's the funding that general fund has to provide to the highway building capital project because these expenses were incurred prior to adopting the bond resolution. So it's for the soft costs of the engineering, the design fees that were incurred prior.
Okay, and you did. Interestingly enough, I mean, we're going to have a lot of discussion tonight about the highway garage project. And it's all good as far as I'm concerned. When we bonded on February 23rd for $28 million, a little over $28 million, all other factors being equal, if the project truly did cost that, what you just did was cobble out $238,000 that could not be bonded, couldn't be gone into debt for, because we have to use our cash on hand for that, because it all was incurred before.
You're not allowed to include any expenses incurred prior to the bond resolution being adopted. So these expenses incurred prior to
Make sense?
February 23rd of 23.
Okay.
So you have to fund it some other way. It's something that we could potentially, if we decide later, could go back and use ARPA money for if we want to. But for right now, we'll just fund out of the general fund. You can always make a later decision on ARPA money.
Any questions or comments from the board? Make a motion to transfer $238,000 from the general fund to the highway building capital project H0232 to cover planning and engineering costs that were incurred prior to the bond resolution adoption.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gertaldi?
Aye.
Now, the next resolution, actually we have two gentlemen that have come tonight. One, Steve Fantuzzo from the law firm, I think, that is helping on this application for a cell tower. And Mike Crosby, our hometown Verizon guy, I guess I'd say. I mean, you born and raised here, right? And the board members might recognize Mike, because Mike was on the podium a couple of times during the Pellet Road, Lake Road process for a cell tower about a year and a half ago. That cell tower is built now, by the way. I don't know if anybody's seen it down in Pellet and Lake. And so shortly after that, we got together and said, you know, and Josh, I think you and I were in on this meeting last year too, so, hey, what are some of the other areas in Webster that Verizon foresees they're going to have additional towers or whatever because of where coverage is just not there. And one of them was this, I call it the 5 Mile Line, 104 or whatever, and this resolution is essentially the answer to getting additional infrastructure of I'll call it a cell tower, on top of Cherry Ridge. And something that within your application, what I saw, certainly the people that live at Cherry Ridge seem to be okay with.
Yeah, we heard,
Do you want to take the
Sure.
podium? I mean, I just, you know, and certainly, but like I said, I'm glad you came, because obviously the last one, you know, it was an interesting process.
Sure.
I
Got Mike
don't
Crosby,
think this one
Brian Moore.
is.
I'm sorry?
I don't think this one is
I
that.
would not expect it on this one.
Right.
Mike Crosby, Verizon Wireless, I'm the radio frequency engineer for Verizon for this area. And to your point, really, you know, Webster, like many towns, has areas of better coverage and areas of worse coverage. And that coverage can be defined as both coverage and capacity. And in this case, we have in-building coverage issues. We have a notorious long-time problem area, which was the Lowe's hardware store. That's something that we've heard about for years. This site started off originally intended to help improve that particular area. That was why we had originally named it 5 Mile 104, because it was just generally in that area. That's oftentimes how we name the sites, is based on where that coverage area is intended to serve. In the process of trying to identify the best location that would have the least intrusive means to impact the community, but yet solve the problem that we're facing, our real estate people scoured the area looking for different options, and the rooftop of the Cherry Ridge buildings came up. And during our visit with those folks to do what we call a design visit, they made sure that we were fully aware of how bad the coverage was inside their buildings, and asked us if there was anything, if this site was going to fix those problems. I advised that this site was originally intended really to serve from their facility towards the intersection of 5 Mile 104, but since we were there, it certainly would help us, because our other sites like the Schrader rooftop, this site here at Hardin Ridge, those sites are all experiencing congestion capacity issues. So in order for us to offload the capacity related issues of the neighboring sites, we have to build a new site that has dedicated dominant service to a certain area. And so we examined what our intentions were for the site, and we identified that in fact we could add a second antenna that would also help to improve the coverage throughout the rest of their facility. So really it's a matter of killing two birds with one stone, so to speak. So I think that that's best use of our opportunity here. And like I say, it does help the other adjacent structure or adjacent sites, specifically Schrader, which is also severely overloaded, and we have plans in the future that we want to come back and try to make that particular small cell a little bit better. So, and that's part of our natural evolution of the sites, is as new technologies become available, as we acquire additional bands of spectrum from the FCC, oftentimes we have to come back in the future and do some upgrades, either to antennas or add additional radios or things like that. So there's other natural evolutionary type work that will be coming in the future for the adjacent sites, and we've already done that in many cases. You know, but for this particular one, this is a natural puzzle piece that fits in a particular area for us. And I think that for anybody that has used Verizon service in Lowe's, this is probably beating a dead horse here, probably already well aware of the issues that we have there. But to your original statement, yes, the residents, the administrative staff of Cherry Ridge has definitely made us well aware of their concerns as well. So we're confident that this will, in fact, be helping them.
Well, I mean, tonight's resolution is really just, you know, the town board passing it on to the planning board to do the, like, better terms, the heavy lifting on this. Does any of the town board members have any questions, comments? I mean, I did want to take some extra time on this because I'm sure the town board members remember Collett and Lake. And I can't stress this enough. I've been very happy with Mike and some of the people that you brought in. Josh, you know, let's work together, see where the coverage areas, problems are, and let's see if we can help point you in the direction of sites that would have the less evasive, or what do I want to say?
Least intrusive means less necessary.
Which, great. So based on that, I make a motion to refer to the planning board an application for a Microtel wireless communications facility at 900-965 Cherry Ridge Boulevard.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill? Councilwoman Capano?
Aye.
Mike, I hope you have a very pleasant planning board experience.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to it, and I do agree that I think it's going to be smoother than last time. We're not expecting, there's no reason that I can imagine why there would be any opposition to this, but you know, my daughter appreciates me coming up here tonight because I've already got marching orders to pick up some Dairy Queen on the way home, so it was nice seeing everybody, so thank you.
You better wait for Ron Camp and all of his crew to finish
Yeah,
up
wait for
there.
them to clear out.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you all, appreciate it.
The next resolution, resolution number 8 tonight, has been one that has been presented and bantered around for a couple of months now at the town board. And I want to say Mary Harrington did a presentation on this, Pat and Josh, a couple months ago about having a kind of a time and materials standing contract with one of the engineering firms to help the town where needed, special projects or just overflow things. Is that essentially what it is?
Yeah, this resolution is for general engineering support, for assistance with engineering reviews, signing off on site plans, etc. In the absence of a town engineer.
Looking to play with SWIPs moving forward, which was definitely the primary reviewer on. I'm very familiar with all the tactics, but having someone to help with those, even big and small projects, moving forward for something we're trying to do short term.
Any questions?
I would move that we contract and authorize the supervisor to sign an agreement for professional services for general engineering services with the MRP group.
Second.
Councilwoman McCollum,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn,
Aye.
Supervisor Curry.
Aye. Pat, you and Jared, or the next 5 are all related. And this is, I think, a very big milestone in the highway facility process. So I'm going to hand over to you guys. I think you got a little explanation or presentation to give.
Yeah, so you know, this is a huge milestone for this project. This is sort of the last action here at the board before we get to start actually build this facility. So it's been a long time coming, way prior to when I was even here. So it's just a major undertaking. So we put a few slides together to go through what the bid results were for everybody, hopefully clearly, and we'll let Jared sum up a little bit after you've had a chance to see the results.
Yeah, so just that said, wanted to recap the bids and bid process, and just walk through where we are now that we have received bids and where that compares to budget. So we want to get into it. So bids were received on July 19th at 11 a.m. in this room. We had 31 total bidders for 5 contracts. That's fantastic bid numbers. The more people you can get to bid on your project, obviously the more competitive it's going to be. So we were at the benefit of good attendance at the bid. That resulted in 5 contracts being bid. Pull that up. Our low bidders for the general contractor was Russell P. LaCroix at $9,610,757,000. That was under budget, and that's going to be a trend here. So mechanical was Pipitone Enterprises for $1,301,000. Again, under budget. Landry Mechanical was on the plumbing for $1,841,300. Again, under budget. Electrical was Concord Electric. They're doing similar work with the design team on another very similar project, so it was nice to see them come in. We did receive one bid that was lower, but that contractor reviewed their numbers between our de-scoping process, where we verified they're comfortable with their bid, and they did elect to withdraw their bid due to mathematical errors. This is, it was done within the regulated period of time to do so. This number came in at $2,077,200, and again, under budget, so all positives. And then the site contract, the low bid was Wood Stone Earth with a value of $3,691,000. Again, 5 for 5, under budget.
I like that.
So, very positive. We'll get into the why, but we'll walk through the budget a little bit.
Yeah, so I added the next slide, so the way the, you want to
I'll do the next slide.
out of order.
So,
Summary.
just a general comparison of the budget versus the bid. So we've already run through the low bidders, and those are the values associated with each. There's also a co-op purchase. Our state contract item was the truck lifts for the mechanics and the associated equipment. Those are being purchased off of a cooperative purchase for $478,508. These are very significant lifts. It's we're still vetting the numbers. This is a budget number at this point, so this I'm sure will be a board item once we get those numbers finalized. But we're very comfortable with that number. And then our incidental budget, it's down a bit from where we were at the budget stage, and we'll get into the why for that as well. And then our construction contingency operates as a percentage of our construction dollars. So you're seeing less there just because it's a percentage of what came in with bid day. So our total project value is $23,017,092. When I hit the mouse, it'll get us to the next. I tried to channel my inner Mary Harrington with some of the animations. The budget versus bond, our budget / bond was $28,250,000 as discussed previously. Our project bid came in obviously well under that, totaling a $5,232,908 reduction from where we were at when we budgeted this. So very, very positive. And Pat will kind of recap in the next slide the comparisons to those numbers.
Yeah, so one of the things that was really I try to put forth is to make sure things are linear. So here we have a project budget that shows the reduction, sort of the revised construction value going into construction, but it has it broken up into 5 contracts. When we initially did the budget proposals for this, it wasn't broken up into the 5 contracts. We did it a bit more generically, there was construction and whatnot. So I put together a slide, here it is, in the right order, that can take you back. So if you go look at our budget presentation, these are going to track more along those lines. So we have a proposed budget. If you go back, I did have to combine new highway building and Cliff Jones into one value from the original budget. It's 2. If you add those 2 together, you get the value there. And then our original incidental budget and our original construction contingency, and then the bids going over. So this allows you to compare. And you can see that, as Jared said, the incidental went down a little bit, the contingency went down a little bit, but the major one is related to the bids on that top new building construction. Cliff Jones is down at that 18 number. I just wanted to make sure it was easy for everybody to go back and review what we originally put together for the bond and relate it to how the bids came in, even though they're chopped up into 5 different things. So this slide kind of does that. The other thing I want to touch on in here is in that original budget presentation, there was a value that sort of had everything that we wanted for the project for the long term. And in order to get to a better monetary place, we did some reductions. One of the major items in that reduction was the salt barn. The salt barn in our facility has some life left in it, but it doesn't have 30 years left in it. So with this much reduction in budget, as we move along through the construction project, I think there's going to be a point where we need to take a really hard look at that aspect that was eliminated from the original ask in order to get to a better position. Now that we've seen real savings, which we haven't made it through construction, but when we get to that point, under the same basis that it's important to do this project now, that 1.7 million that's there in 10 or 20 years is no longer going to be 1.7 million to replace that salt barn. You're never going to get better value than you will today on your dollar for that. So I just wanted to mention that we work hard with Bill and Patty and the board and then the team here to get the budget down, even though it's still massively expensive, and something we're eliminated to do that as we move along with the construction. This is one particular item that I think we'll at least revisit maybe a year down the road here and discuss possibly incorporating that back in to get value.
Sure, and Pat, I think it was, I don't know, last week or the week before, I wrote an article about, this was, I wanted to shout from the mountaintop, this was great news, you know, right? And one of the things I said in that article was, okay, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that it's gonna end up being exactly 23 million, because as you start to build the thing, you have contingencies, like you said, that contingency, actually could be less than that. And what I've learned from the Jared, how you handle the sandbar, is you go along in construction, the unknowns become less and less and less. And you can start to manage, you say, I don't think we need that much contingency. We can hit some bedrock or, you know, whatever, that we gotta spend an extra $1 million on that we didn't know about. And the other one is change orders. It's kind of, you know, everybody thinks change orders is, you know, that's where contractors might make their money. I mean, this is a building that essentially is, I don't want to say it's a simple building, but I think the way the engineers who were kind of gumshoes on this type of building having done it for other municipalities. And I've seen how you guys manage projects. I just don't see a lot of change orders popping up. And those are the things that make you run over budget and all that stuff. I think we're gonna, this is good news. And last but not least, we have not, you know, applied for one grant. It's a fact. I mean, the CFA is now, the deadline is hit, a little bit of an extension. I did have lunch yesterday with a grant firm out of Buffalo who we're looking at, because obviously the presentation we did a few weeks ago, or months ago, to get a grant firm to help us identify monies federally, state, all that stuff. I'm still holding out hope that we can find something or some various grants that have validity to at least attempt to get and apply for, pertaining to the highway garage, or maybe it's specific to the salt barn, for all I know. And I just keep using it, maybe I'm too much of an eternal optimist or whatever. But we just said earlier today that $290,000 is being transferred over parkland to go to buy 28 acres on Herman Road. Before we applied for that DEC forestry grant, some people that are very educated people that know how grants work said, you're wasting your time, you'll never get that money. We got it. You know, so I want to see if there's opportunities for us to apply for grants, and I'm not sold that, oh, there is no grant money for a highway garage. I'm not accepting that. I think we need to look a little closer. It's not going to hold you up from groundbreaking or doing all that stuff, but in parallel, we will try to see what we can do on this.
Absolutely, just like we said, you know, our goal is to not bond the full amount that was approved. Our goal is still to get grants to further reduce that. Absolutely. Oh, you have a couple more?
Yeah. So anytime we bid a project, whether the numbers come in favorable or not, we always do a post-mortem to figure out why the numbers came in where they did, and you know, were there any misses, right, or were there any things that we could have done differently? With this one, it's almost all positive. Cost reduction during design, which Pat talked about. His team didn't want to spend money frivolously on their project, so the building itself is what is needed, right? There's very nice aspects to the building, but it's a very functional, very modern building, but it's not over the top with finishes, things of that nature. So there were some savings there. There's going to be a lot of clicking, sorry. Reductions in incidental costs. A lot of that came from our construction management firm working with the architect and realizing that some of the services both of us provide overlapped a bit. So there were some savings that came back because of those discussions. Quality bid documents. This cannot be shouted from the mountaintops loud enough. Anytime you have a project that has quality documents with clear, concise scoping and direction, whether it's the specifications or the drawings itself, The contractors actually commented on this with almost everyone we de-scoped and said how good the drawings were, how clear and concise the direction was, there was no gaps in scope. So that's reflected in the numbers without a doubt. A confident bidder always bids more competitively. Active contractor procurement. Just like the picture shows, sometimes just picking up the phone and communicating with the bidders is what really gets them out there, gets them bidding on your jobs. There was a strategy put forth to break it into 5 contracts to kind of figure out how to get best value out of the bids. So again, this is just over communicating and basically selling the project to the bidders so that they'll come out and bid the project. And then the last, but there are more, favorable schedule. So this fit into the schedule of a lot of the contractors. Capitalizing on winter work for site contractors, not hitting in peak seasons for things like school construction. It's a clear open site and it's ready for work. That you definitely see on bid day. And we did hear that in some of the meetings. So, yeah, all positives. So we're also at the benefit of some of the contractors self-performing almost all of the work. So you don't see that a lot, and there's a lot of money that's eaten up with subcontractors at that point. So again, there's many more reasons why the numbers came in so favorable, but these were the basics. Construction should be starting at some point this month. Very exciting, obviously, for the town. It's a tentative groundbreaking scheduled for later this month. I'm sure we'll work together with Pat and obviously the board to figure out what date makes most sense, and we'll go from there. And the last slide is really just any questions.
Just jump in on the end there. He touched on it, the design team and stuff like that, but I want to personally say how happy and pleased I am with the performance of this team, Jared's team included. You don't get results like this very often. I think it speaks huge amount across the board, and it's everybody. There are, including the town board. Our liaison started with Patty when we started this, directly with me. Started before me. Bill Abbott has been invaluable throughout the process. More recently, to get this done, Jared and his team, MRD, all these people putting these things together, getting this tight schedule. Our guys, the highway department. When he talks about a clean site, contractors come out there for a pre-bid and literally have a spot, 81,000 square foot big, with nothing there to build a building. I've never seen that either. And they got all of our stuff, all of our operational things with help missing feet out there in the street, getting everything done. So they work tremendously hard and dedication, and it just speaks to why this facility is needed and they deserve it. So we work through all that. And an example of a really high functioning team that I'll give, and it goes to somebody that isn't here, but I have a schedule for this project. The email with the scheduled dates of every step that has to happen, that was put together March 15th of this year. And it goes right down through, and the date for bonding for award of contract resolution for town board is August 3rd. From March 15th. That's an email from Mary.
Yeah, no doubt. That's Mary Harrington's work.
So she's watching tonight.
I don't know, it's possible. I hope so.
I'm going to just tell you that a little less than 4 years ago, when I got elected, a couple weeks after I started reaching out to some of the department heads to say, you want to get together and talk before January 1st, just so we're not hitting the ground running on January 1st, so I can, meet you and whatever. Joe Herbst, the highway superintendent at that time, and we knew each other. And yeah, come on in. If you know Joe, very energetic guy. And I sat down in his office, and John Leckinger, you're out there right there, and the first thing he says to me, there was no pleasantries and like, hey, how are the kids, this and then he goes, you gotta help us get that land across the thing when you get in, because we gotta build this new highway garage. And I'm like, well, it's nice to see you too, Joe. It was the first thing he said. And it's just kind of interesting to see that here we are almost 4 years later, and a lot of work has gone into it up to this point. And I'm thrilled that you're breaking ground together. That's great.
Long time coming, Pat.
So,
Yeah.
This
You board members want to rattle these off and share these five?
I
Or?
will start. I would move that we contract and authorize the supervisor to sign an agreement with Russell P. Lefroy for contract number 1, general the town of Webster Highway Facility Project, in the amount of $9,610,757. Second.
Councilwoman Capaldi?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
I would move to contract with and authorize the supervisor to sign an agreement with Landry Mechanical for contract number 2, plumbing of the town of Webster Highway Facility Project in the amount of $1,841,300.
Second.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Capaldi?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
I would move a resolution to contact with, authorize the supervisor to sign an agreement with Pepitone Enterprise for contract number 3, HVAC/mechanical of the town of Webster Highway Facility Project in the amount of $1,301,000.
Second.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilwoman Capaldi?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
I would move to contract with and authorize the supervisor to sign an agreement with Concord Electric for contract number 4, electric for the town of Webster Highway Facility Project in the amount of $2,077,200.
Second.
Councilwoman Capaldi?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
I would move to contract with and authorize the supervisor to sign an agreement with Woodstone Earth Construction for contract number 5, site of the town of Webster Highway Facility Project in the amount of $3,691.
Second.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Capaldi?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye. Congratulations. Thank you.
Exciting.
Very exciting.
Yes. That's great, Mabel. Congratulations, John.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Long time coming, right?
Yes.
Well, the next two, I guess it is the season. We're moving in on tax collection, huh, Ally? So, does anybody have any questions on these next two? Because they're kind of standing resolutions we do almost every
I
year.
have no questions.
Okay, then I'm gonna make a motion. Oh,
No, sorry, I'm done. Sorry.
okay, I make a motion for the Webster Town Board to authorize the bonding of receiver of taxes in the amount of $250,000.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Capaldi?
Aye.
And I just want to say, if it wasn't the law, we wouldn't have to go and get bonding for $250 because Ally, you're too honest. We wouldn't have to worry about you. But it is the law, and I hope you don't take it personally. But, and then I make a motion to appoint Shelley LaRocca, Town of Ontario, as the school tax collector for the 2023-2024 school year for the portion of properties in the town of Webster located in Wayne Central School District.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilwoman Capaldi?
Aye.
All right, the next two, I know Charlie, you were already speaking to.
I spoke to one of the applicants, yes, I did.
Mr. Mavis?
Yes.
Okay. And this, Pat Stevens has his letter of, I'll call it recommendation on this. Does the town board have any questions about issuing a license agreement? I'm on the town agreement. Yes, the shed, the town agreement, yeah. Okay, and it looks like Mr. Mavis already was up with you earlier, getting.
I advised him in the event that the board approved license agreement.
Okay, well, let's find out if that event happens, if you don't mind. Any no questions?
No questions.
Make a motion to approve a license agreement for a shed within a town drainage easement at 907 Thaxted Circle, tax ID number 064.19-1-86.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Catali.
Aye.
Thank you.
That was pretty easy.
Beautiful.
Sorry you had to wait almost an hour for that.
No, that's fine.
We got entertained by the meeting.
Yeah, I learned a lot.
And then, let's see. So this one has a letter of recommendation to it, yeah,
This has a condition,
well, it does.
yes. This, the condition that Mr. Stevens put in was that the fence is to remain outside the easement, 10-foot, 5-foot headed or more from the existing range. Right?
Yeah, correct. A portion of this property does have a pipe, so you must stay out of it, a portion, but it also has a section along the back that doesn't have anything, so they'll be able to extend the fence into the back portion without hindering anything along the side. They won't. Yeah, so it's a little bit different situation, but still gets them some coverage in the rear.
Eric?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I think I understand. Do you understand what?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's most important that you understand.
Yeah, I understand.
And now that I look at Pat's letter and what he said, I think I got it. Does the board got it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I make a motion to approve a license agreement for a fence within the town drainage easement at 436 Pineville Lane, tax ID number 050.03-6-59.
Supervisor Flaherty,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Catali.
Aye.
Sorry I had to wait an hour.
No, it doesn't matter. It's all good. Thanks.
Well, my Latin-speaking friend, town attorney Charlie Genesi, informed me this week that from a function over form standpoint, the next three resolutions, it's not imperative that we read out each line. Is that
Thank
correct,
you.
Charlie?
Oh,
I
darn.
was gonna ask that question.
So how
In the
would,
interest of time.
right, how would we read this? I mean, it's all documented, so I mean,
I think you can just say that the items that are listed.
Right.
keep it simple, stupid, right? Well, why don't you make the motion, John?
I would move to declare the following items for recycling from the Parks and Rec Department as identified as number 18.
Second.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn,
Aye.
Councilwoman Catali,
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye, you know what, John, I didn't like it, so I'm gonna do the next one. Well, I'm gonna make a motion to declare the following item for recycling from the town clerk's office, a lot of 2 office chairs, tag number 3144. I like that better.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty,
Aye?
Councilwoman Wynn,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Catali.
Aye. And on the advice of our town attorney, I would declare the following items for recycling from the IT department, a long list of Optiplex desktop and Dell monitors, as my motion.
Second.
Councilwoman Catali,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye. Well, did anybody think we'd get through 20 motions and round camp at 8:30? 1 hour, huh? Not bad, that's an efficient meeting. So, before we put the gavel down, we do the round table, which is a bit of a truncated one today, so we'll start with Paul.
All right. All right, Tom, well, the budget process continues. We finished the 2 budget workshops this week and last week. So I think we'll spend the next few weeks going through the numbers, see what we want to change, because we are at the moment over the tax cap, and we don't plan to break the tax cap. I think the next time it goes before the board will be September 8th. And at that point, they may pass a resolution to turn the tentative budget into a preliminary budget. That's the normal procedure.
I think that's September 7th, right? Thursday, 7th.
Whatever that,
First board meeting in September.
maybe it is. Yeah, could have the date wrong.
I'm nitpicking, sorry. Pat?
So you covered it, you know, but, yeah, obviously that's the biggest thing we have going on a long time coming, and operational stuff, we have finished the season. It's gone really, really well. The application this year is adhering really well. Everything looks good. Very happy with that program. Still, it was run great by the guys. They worked hard on it, got it done. So we'll be wrapping that up. Still working really hard on our capital project I mentioned earlier in the budget meeting. Shadowwood, that's coming along, coming out great. Moving toward paving on that. We'll be doing some work with the county later on in the month down on Lake Road. Doing some paving for them on the easterly section over there. So you'll see us there. And other than that, yeah, getting ready for groundbreaking. So.
And Josh, you're out there, do you want to say anything, or?
No,
You good?
Nothing today.
Okay, hiding behind the beam on me. And I just want to say before we move on to the board days, I want to thank Josh and Pat because, as we said earlier, Mary Harrington is no longer the town engineer, and we miss her dearly already. And Josh and Pat have kind of picked up the load of what Mary did, and I think you're finding out just how much she did. But it's a temporary thing. I mean, but as we've said, as we go through vetting candidates for who will be the next town engineer, Mary set a pretty high bar.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty darn high bar, so we'll see where we go with that. Jenny?
All right, my usuals. Come out, support all your friends and, the community here. They need it out. And all the non-profits, like Came to Miracle Field, support the library and support the Webster Museum. I know we have a museum, so come out, check it out.
I'm good.
Hattie, you want to speak for Bill Abbott tonight and yourself, or?
I would begin to speak for Bill Abbott. I know that he is probably very sorry to miss this meeting tonight because he has been a real integral part of the highway planning project. I'm actually happy that he's your liaison now because, no, I think he brings great value to the discussion and to all the plans that you've got. So, other than saying I'm sure Bill is missing being here for this tonight, I have nothing to report personally.
Charlie.
Well, I think everything that's gone on tonight indicates what a great team you have here in the town. Very pleased to be part of it. I'd like to just comment on that. Mr. Cronenberg, I'll be dealing with you as far as the license agreement, okay?
Okay.
I'll be sending you documentation.
Okay.
And if you have any questions, you can come up after the meeting and I'll give you my phone number and contact
Okay, good.
information.
Now, Dolly, last week you didn't say anything, but you got it, something to say now, right?
Well, town clerk tax receiver office is very busy gearing up for collections, school taxes on September 1.
And what I thought you were going to say. Well, unless anybody has anything else, this meeting is officially closed. Congratulations. Pretty good. Good. Really?
You're going to see how fast you can go through those.
Oh, how are you?
You're going to see how fast you can go through that list.
I was gonna read every single one, and they said you were.
Gents? Adios.